Greetings to everyone. Welcome back once again to my educational channel on biology. In this video, we are going to discuss Form 5 biology topic, Chapter 6, Sexual Reproduction in Flowering Plants. And we will discuss the interesting structure of a flower. Now, we usually admire flowers for their beauty and sweet fragrance, but they have another awesome characteristic, and that is their superb ability to act as organs for sexual reproduction in plants. Their structures are geared towards ensuring that the plant is successful in reproduction. So flowers are highly adapted to ensure that fertilization occurs between the male and female gametes in order to produce progeny or children for the next generation. This will ensure the survival of the plant species. Let's find out more about fascinating flowers. The learning standards for this lesson are as follows. Number 1, we should be able to identify the structures of a flower, such as the petals, sepals, stamen, carpel, stigma, and so forth. Next, we should be able to compare and contrast the male structures and the female structures in the flower. And these are the stamens and the carpels. Now, the suggested activity, which your teacher may want you to carry out. Okay, we have to dissect a flower, such as the hibiscus species flower, draw and label the structures, and state the function of the peduncle, which is the flower stalk, the sepal, petals, carpels, which consists of stigma, star, and ovary, and stamens, which consists of filament and anther. So we are going to discuss the structure of the hibiscus flower, analyze it, and also draw the structures. Okay, draw the diagram of the flower, the longitudinal section of the flower. Now, here's a fun question, first of all. You can try to find the answer as we go along, as we discuss more about this topic. Now, the question is, state 3 adaptations of flowers to attract pollinators, such as bees and butterflies. Okay, 3 adaptations or 3 characteristics of flowers to attract the pollinators. Now, what are pollinators? A pollinator is an animal, such as an insect like bee or butterfly, that transfers pollen from the stamen, which is the male reproductive structure in the flower, to the carpel, which is the female reproductive structure in the flower. It can be in the same flower. The stamen and carpel can be in the same flower or different flowers, okay, for the process or aim of fertilization. So think about this question. What are 3 characteristics of flowers to attract pollinators, right? The physical characteristics that attract the pollinators to come to them. And you can see here the bee here has settled on the flower, and you can see that the pollen grains, the yellow pollen grains are sticking to its body, right? So this is the success of the flower in attracting the bee, so that the bee will carry this pollen grain to the stigma of another flower or the same flower in order to ensure that fertilization occurs. So let's discuss the structure of a flower. Firstly, we have to know the term angiosperms. Angiosperms are a group of plants that produce flowers and bear seeds enclosed in a fruit. Okay, so angiosperms produce flowers. All the flowering plants are angiosperms. They belong to this group of plants called angiosperms. And angiosperms also produce seeds that are enclosed in a fruit. For example, this is a papaya fruit, and you can see a lot of black seeds inside, right? So they bear seeds that are enclosed in a fruit. That's for purpose 2. Okay. Now, number 2, they are the largest group in the kingdom Plantae. Angiosperms are the largest group in kingdom Plantae, about 300,000 species in all, and they make up 80% of all green plants, right? Now, the other group of green plants is called the gymnosperms, like the fir tree, all right, the pine tree in the temperate countries. They don't produce flowers, okay? The gymnosperms do not produce flowers, only the angiosperms. Now, angiosperms can carry out both asexual reproduction through tubers and bulbs, and also sexual reproduction. Okay, so asexual reproduction is a form of reproduction that does not involve gametes and fertilization. All right, and the plant reproduces through the process of cell division called mitosis. Right. For example, the potato tuber, you can grow small tiny plantlets out from the potato tuber itself, right, that are genetically like each other, right, and also through bulbs like the onion bulb, right, so new plants can grow out from the onion bulb. Now, but they also carry out sexual reproduction. So which is better, asexual reproduction or sexual reproduction? Now, both serve different purposes. Asexual reproduction is helpful to allow the plant species to increase, the species, the individuals to increase quickly, right? Because asexual reproduction occurs more quickly, and there's no need for fertilization or doesn't involve production of gametes. But sexual reproduction is also very important. Why is that so? Okay. Advantage of sexual reproduction in plants is that it involves meiosis in the formation of gametes. Another type of cell division called meiosis is involved, which leads to variation, right? Because gametes produced will be genetically different from each other when they are produced through meiosis, right? So if these different gametes undergo fertilization, you'll produce individuals with different characteristics, all right? And then this will increase the ability of the species to adapt to changes in the environment. In case there is a change in the environment, for example, the climate may become hotter, okay, or maybe a disease spreads. So some of the individuals in the species may be able to adapt to the changes, whereas others cannot. So those that survive will be able to continue to reproduce for the survival of the species. So that's the importance of sexual reproduction in plants. Now, sexual reproduction in angiosperms, the flowering plants, occur in the unique reproductive organ called the flower. Okay, so flowers have an important mission for the plants. Okay, and that mission that the plants have is to reproduce in order to make sure that the species survives and continues on, right? Doesn't become extinct. So the flower has an important job to do. Now, angiosperms are the most successful group of plants on Earth because of their flowers. So the flowers have been successful in helping the angiosperms to propagate or to reproduce and spread throughout the whole Earth, all right, in many places of Earth. Even in the Arctic or Antarctica regions, you can see grass growing there, okay, flowering plants growing there. Now, flowers. So firstly, the flowers of angiosperms, their attractive colors and scents attract animals such as insects, which help in pollination. That means the transfer of pollen from the anther of the flower to the stigma. Okay, and this causes the development of seeds after fertilization. This causes the development of new offspring. So in this way, the plant reproduces, and this leads to the survival of the species, right? Now, secondly, angiosperms also produce seeds that are encased in fruit, as we have discussed just now. You can see the fruit here in this picture below here. So inside it are the seeds. So the seeds are protected in the fruit. And furthermore, the fruit will attract animals to eat it. Then these animals will disperse the seeds far away from the parent plant, okay, hopefully far away from the parent plant, so that the seeds can grow and they will not compete with the parent plant. So the structure of a flower. A flower contains two main sections, okay? The first are the male and female reproductive structures, namely the stamen and the carpel. Now, textbook uses the word male and female reproductive organs, okay? So the organ is actually the whole flower, okay? So the stamen and carpels are just the tissues that contain the gametes. We call them the male and female reproductive structures. But take note that textbook uses organs. So if it comes up in the exam, you have to be flexible enough to know what it means, okay? It could mean the stamen and the carpel. Now, so the stamen that consists of the anther and filament is the male reproductive structure, and the carpel that consists of the stigma, style, ovary, and ovule is the female reproductive structure. Okay, so other than that, surrounding these two structures, we have the petals, sepals, and peduncle, which is the flower stalk. So let's find out the functions of all these parts and how to draw a section through the flower. It's a good diagram of the structure of a flower, the longitudinal section through the flower. Okay, so you can copy this into your notebook. Okay, it's all the labeled parts. Now let's quickly go through the various parts and their functions. All right, so start with the two reproductive structures. The male reproductive structure is the stamen, which consists of the anther, which is usually yellow in color, and the pollen grains are also yellow in color usually, and a filament each. Okay, an anther and a filament each. So the anther, what's the function of the anther? It is to produce the male gametes in the pollen sac. Okay, it produces the male gametes inside the pollen, which is inside the pollen sac here. And then what's the function of the filament? It is the stalk that holds up the anther. Okay, so that's the structure of the stamen. Now let's look at the structure of the carpel. The carpel is sometimes called the pistil, but we use the word carpel, okay, as like in the textbook. So carpel is made up of stigma, style, ovary, and ovule. Now the stigma is the site for pollination to occur, okay, whereby the pollen will land on the stigma. Okay, the stigma has adaptations like it has a large surface area for the pollen to be placed, and also it has hair-like structures, like hairs that help to trap the pollen grains, right? So that pollen grains are not blown away by the wind. Now the style connects the stigma to the ovary. So in the ovary, there is the ovule. So the ovary, the function of the ovary is to protect the ovule, all right, and it can develop into the fruit after fertilization. So inside the ovary is the ovules that are the site for production of female gametes and the embryo sac, right? So sometimes you can be asked to circle the structure in which the gametes are formed. Okay, for male gametes, we circle for formation of male gametes, we circle the anther as the site of formation of male gametes, and the site for production of female gametes is the ovule here. So you can circle the ovule here. Now, apart from that, in the outer parts of the flower, we have the petals. So petals are actually colorful to attract insects, if the insects are the pollinators, okay, for that plant. So petals are colorful to attract insects to land on the flower and hopefully to get some pollen grains attached to the insect, okay, to be carried away by the insect. Now next, there is the layer of tissues that are green in color. This is called the sepal. A collection of sepals is called the calyx, right? So sepal protects the flower bud as it is developing by enclosing the flower bud, okay, when the flower is still young. Now, receptacle is just a base, okay, where the flower is resting on, where the flower rests on, okay, so nothing much there. Now, peduncle is the flower stalk that supports the whole flower, all right? Now, functions of the parts of the flower we've discussed just now, so I'll read through very quickly. So the function of the sepal, the green part here, is to protect the flower at the bud stage when the flower is still young and developing. So you enclose the flower and protect the flower, the flower that is still forming. Now the petal attracts insects and animals if it's brightly colored, and if the plant depends on insects for pollination. So then these insects will be attracted to the flower and help to pollinate the flower by transferring the pollen from anthers to stigma for fertilization to occur. Now, peduncle is the flower stalk that supports the flower. Okay, so it's found below here, peduncle. Now, next we come to the male reproductive structure, which is the stamen. So you can be asked, why is the stamen called the male reproductive structure? Why? So the reason is because the stamen produces pollen and male gametes. Okay. Then in the stamen we have the anther, which produces the male gametes in the pollen grains inside the pollen sac or bag in the anther, which we'll study in the next video. The filament is the stalk that holds up the anther, right? Now, for the carpel shown here, it is called the female reproductive structure because it produces the embryo sac and the female gamete, which we will study in the next video. Now, what are the parts of the carpel? Okay, so you can be asked, why is the carpel called the female reproductive structure? So the answer is because it produces the embryo sac and the female gamete, which is the egg cell or ovule. The functions of parts of the carpel. The stigma is the place where pollination occurs, okay, where the pollen grain will land. And it has a large surface area to receive the pollen during pollination. Another adaptation is that it has hairs on its surface to trap the pollen grains, right? So that the pollen grains will not be blown away by the wind. Now, the style connects the stigma to the ovary. And the ovary contains ovules, which produce the female gametes and the embryo sac. Now let's look at 3 examples of flowers and try to identify the stamens and the carpels. Okay, for example, in this picture, can you tell me what color the anthers are? Yes, the anthers are brown in color. Okay, so how many anthers are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 anthers. That means there are 6 stamens in all. Okay, so each anther is attached to a filament below it. And one anther and one filament equals to 1 stamen. Okay, so 6 anthers means 6 stamens. Now, how about the carpels? So there's only one carpel sticking out, okay, above the anthers. And what does a carpel consist of? Yes, the stigma, style, and below there's the ovary, and inside the ovary there are ovules. Okay, right. So what is the adaptation of the stamens here for its function of reproduction? Now, there's one adaptation here. Okay, that is, there are usually more stamens than stigmas or carpels in the flower. Okay, so there are 6 stamens and only 1 carpel or 1 stigma. Now, why is that so? So the more stamens that there are, that means it will ensure that more male gametes are produced in the anthers, right? So this will increase the chances of success in pollination, because the male gametes in the pollen grains have to be transferred to the stigma of the same flower or another flower. So the chances of success in pollination is increased if there are more male gametes. More male gametes will be able to reach the stigma, okay, because of the numbers. So if this happens and the chances of success in pollination increases, then more egg cells will be formed when fertilization occurs in the cup, okay, in the ovary. And then more egg cells are fertilized by the male gametes to produce more seeds and more offspring for the survival of the plant species. Here's another flower. So we can see the anthers here, all right, which are quite big, relatively big, and the filaments here. Okay, so this structure is the stamen, right? And then again, right in the center here, we see only one carpel, all right? The stigma is here, and below here is the stalk. Okay, so the ovary is below and hidden away. So this whole structure is the carpel, okay, this structure. Now here's a more advanced, here's more advanced knowledge. This flower is called gladiolus. What is so unique about it? Can you see this structure that has 3 lobes? Okay, try identify the stamens and the carpels. Where are the stamens? So the stamen, each stamen is made up of 1 anther and 1 filament, right? So here, how many stamens are there? 1, 2, 3. 3 stamens, okay? And then look at this structure here. This structure is actually the carpel, okay? And the top part here is the stigma that has 3 lobes. So why 3 lobes? Okay? So actually the lower part here, which is the style, okay? This part here is actually made up of 3 carpels that have fused together to form a single pistil. Okay, so when 3 carpels fuse together to form a single pistil, the top part, the stigma, is not fused together. So you have 3 stigmas here actually, or stigma with 3 lobes. Okay, So this is a more complex pistil or pistil because it's made up of 3 couples, but you cannot see the individual couples already because they're fused together. Okay. So the glandulous flower has 3 stamens and 3 couples fused into a single pistil, and a stigma with 3 lobes here. Right, this is the stigma. Optional memory tip. You can choose to remember this or maybe not. Okay, because we have a lot of memory tips already. So the important ones are like for photosynthesis and respiration. Okay, the acronyms or the memory tips for photosynthesis and respiration and others. This is just an extra one. Okay, so it's up to you whether you want to remember this or not. Now, memory tip for male and female reproductive structures in the flower. Think of the word staff cross. The staff or the worker is cross. Okay, a staff means the worker, the workers, and then cross means angry, to get cross. Okay, so the staff is cross because they have too much work to do and they have low pay. Okay, staff cross, but 2 O's here. So ST stands for stamen, A for anther, and F for filament. So all these are parts of the male reproductive structures. Okay. Now CR for couple, O for ovule, the other O is for ovary, S for style, and the other S is for stigma. Okay. So here we learn or we remember the parts of the male and female reproductive structures. Next, male and female reproductive structures. So we've already discussed the stamen and the couple. Now we're going to compare them. All right. Now, both the stamen and the couple produce gametes. All right. Stamen produces the male gametes and the couple produces the female gametes. Both are located in the flower, which is the reproductive organ. Okay. So the male reproductive structure here consists of the stamen, whereas the female reproductive structure, as seen here, consists of the couple or pistil. I think you better stick to the word couple as in the textbook. Okay. Now this is the couple. Now stamen. Stamen consists of the filament or the stalk and the anther. Whereas for the couple, it consists of the stigma, the style, and the ovary, and inside the ovary there are ovules. Thirdly, the stamen. Okay, the stamen produces pollen grains and male gametes. Right? The stamen here and here. Whereas the couple produces embryo sac and female gametes. So the embryo sac is just a bag-like structure in which the female gamete or ovum or egg cell is found. Okay, it's produced. Now, what's the position of the stamen? The stamen is found projecting out from the base of the ovary here. Okay, so it projects out from the base of the ovary. Whereas the couple is located right in the middle of the flower, usually. Okay, right in the middle of the flower. Right. So these are all the differences, 4 differences. Now, plants such as lilies are bisexual flowers, meaning they have 2 sexes, where both the male and female reproductive structures are found in the same flower. So all these are bisexual flowers. They are lilies actually. Organisms are called hermaphrodites. That means having both male and female reproductive structures. Okay, as compared to papaya tree. So papaya tree, sometimes we get the male papaya tree and sometimes the female papaya tree. So there are 2 sexes, 2 different papaya trees with different gender. Okay, one male and the other one is female. Here's some extra info, but if you are not interested, you can skip this part. What is the difference between a peduncle and pedicel? Okay, peduncle and pedicel. What's the difference? So some books label the flower stalk as pedicel. Now, actually, a peduncle, according to the sources of reference here, Britannica and Collins, a peduncle is a flower stalk for a solitary flower. Okay, so solitary flowers, that means flowers that stand alone. They are not connected to other flowers by the same stalk. Okay, so solitary flowers such as the hibiscus rosa sinensis, that means the hibiscus plant, and lotus, and also crocus and tulips, they are attached to the plant by one single stalk alone. Okay, so that's called a peduncle. How about pedicel? Pedicel is the flower stalk used for flower clusters, like inflorescence. Okay, when there are clusters or bunches of flowers, all connected to the same point below. Okay, all branching out from the same point below. So for flower clusters like inflorescences, like the one above here, each flower has a small short stalk. Okay, this one here, all these small short stalks, called the pedicel, which is attached to each flower stalk here below, called the peduncle again. Okay, so the main flower stalk is the peduncle always, and if it has branches coming out from it, then these flower stalks are called the pedicels. Okay, so in the exam, if you label the flower stalk peduncle for solitary flower, is the best. But if you label pedicel, it doesn't mean that it's wrong, because it could be a flower from a flower cluster, from a group of flowers. Okay. Anyway, stick to peduncle for our SPM Biology syllabus. Now let's discuss activity 6.1 in your textbook, page 115, on the dissection of a hibiscus species flower. So this picture shows you the longitudinal section through a hibiscus species flower that was cut from the top down to the bottom. Okay, here. So hibiscus is a very special flower in that it has modifications to the usual arrangement of stamens and carpels. Okay, for example, you can see the carpels here, the carpel at the top and then coming down here, and it has a few stigmas here. All right, you can observe from the real hibiscus flower. Then that is part of the female reproductive structure. So then the stigmas are connected to a style in the center here of this long tube-like structure. Then down here is the ovary, which is a bit swollen. Okay, and then we have the ovules that are like white pearls. Okay, round white pearls inside here, right? That produce a female gamete. Now, for the male reproductive structure, is also very different in that there are so many of them, so many of the stamens here, right? And each stamen is made of one anther, okay, supported by one filament. Okay, then the interesting thing which is unique is that the stamens, or the filaments of the stamen, have fused together to form a red-colored tube here. Okay, red-colored tube that surrounds the style. Okay, so this red-colored tube is made up of fused filaments. It's called the staminal tube. This is very unique. Okay, so the star is inside the staminal tube. So here is a good drawing, a neat drawing of the longitudinal section of hibiscus species flower, okay, which I've drawn. You can copy this down into your practical workbook if your teacher wants you to draw the hibiscus flower. Okay, so here we see the parts that we discussed just now. Okay, now the outer wall is the epicalyx. The flower stalk is called the peduncle. Then there are sepals, okay, surrounding the flower, the base of the flower. So the collection of sepals is called the calyx. Then we have the petals, all right, and this is to attract the insects and animals to help pollinate the flower, okay, to deposit the pollen on the flower. Then you have the staminal tube, which are made up of fused filaments, okay, and then here we have the male reproductive structure consisting of the anther and filament, okay. One stamen consists of one anther and one filament, right? But there are many stamens surrounding the tube, the staminal tube. Now next, for the carpel, we have four parts. Stigma at the top, okay? And the stigma all joins together to form the style. And then Further down here, we come to the ovary, which contains the ovule that produces the egg sac. So notice that the style is right inside the staminal tube here. So let's look more closely at the stigma first of all. What is the adaptation of the stigma for its function? Can you look at this picture here? What's the adaptation? Yes, the stigma is very hairy or it's full of hairs. Okay. Now the stigmas of hibiscus species have tiny hairs on their surfaces to trap the pollen grains during pollination. As we can see here, see these pollen grains, the yellow bits of tissue, they are the pollen grains. They are attached to the stigma, okay, of the hibiscus species plant. Okay, find out how many stigmas are there in the hibiscus plant. Yes, altogether 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But they all fuse together, right, at the lower parts here. Now, so this is the female reproductive structure called the CARPEL. Okay, so the style, the stigma here, there are 5 stigmas, and I've cut open the staminal tube carefully in order to release the style, which is quite long and thin. Okay, so this is the style, and then next you have the ovary, and finally inside ovary there is the ovule. Okay, so if you are doing dissection of the hibiscus flower, try and get this whole carpel out of the flower. Okay, here a close up of the ovary of the hibiscus plant. Okay, and inside you can see many round white structures, right? They look like the pearls. So these are the ovules, which contain the female gametes. Okay, so the ovule has the function of producing embryo sac containing the female gametes inside these structures. Now, for the hibiscus species flower, how many stamens or anthers does the flower have? Okay, so if you count it, it comes to about 60 to 80 stamens. You can count either the filaments or the anthers, right? Now, this is the structure from a white hibiscus flower. Okay, so you can see the filaments more clearly here. You can count the number of filaments, and that will give you the number of stamens, okay, that the flower has. Right? So how many stamens are there here? Roughly about 70 to 80 stamens, and at the top here you see 4 stigmas, but maybe there should be 5. Maybe one has dropped off or is hidden away somewhere. Okay. This diagram shows you the base or the bottom part of the hibiscus flower, and here you can see 2 layers of tissues. The outer layer is the epicalyx, all right. Epi means outside, so the outer layer, and the inner layer are the true sepals, all right, the real sepals. So the whole structure here is called the calyx. Okay, it's made up of a few sepals. Now the second picture here is to show you another species of plant. This is the flower of the plant, and you can see the ovules inside. Okay, that looks like tiny pearls in the ovary. Now let's discuss our fun question, which was posed at the beginning of this video. The question is, state 3 adaptations of flowers to attract pollinators such as bees and butterflies. So what is your answer? Now, firstly, flowers have large and brightly colored petals. Okay, many flowers have large and brightly colored petals. This is true for flowers that want to attract the insects, okay, to act as pollinators. So colors like bright yellow and red right, to attract the insects. Secondly, some flowers give off a sweet or fragrant scent or smell that can attract the insects. For example, the lavender flower and the rose flower gives off a sweet, fragrant smell. Thirdly, many flowers produce a sweet fluid called nectar for insects to feed on. So this is the third attraction. It is a secret of the flowers. They produce this fluid called nectar, which, like for example, bees need this to make their honey. Okay, so the nectar is produced by the nectary, which is strategically placed at the bottom, the base of the flower. Okay, so this is important so that when the insect like the bee burrows deep to get the nectar, it moves into the deeper parts of the flower, it will accidentally brush against the anthers, and then the pollen grains will come off and get stuck to the body parts. Okay, now here you can see a bee with many pollen grains on its hairy body. Okay, next the bee may visit another flower and again look for the nectar. Then it may touch the stigma, and then the pollen grains will then land on the stigma. Okay, so pollination will be accomplished. Okay, the process of pollination would have been completed. So this question is also important as a HOTS question, okay, for SPM. So take note of this. Right, that's all for this lesson. Thanks for viewing. And please remember the memory trick star-cross for the male and female reproductive structures of flower. Okay, so I hope this lesson has benefited you. Please do share, like, and subscribe to my channel. So all the best to you. To meet again. Goodbye for now.